On the edge of a quiet Canadian town, where the forests stretch endless and the creek cuts through like a scar, there stood a house. Locals called it the house at Willow Creek. To outsiders, it looked ordinary, an old two-story farmhouse with peeling white paint and a sagging porch. But to the people who lived nearby, the house was more than just wood and stone. It was a wound that never healed. And when Claire inherited it from her grandmother, she had no idea what was waiting inside. Mark and Claire Carter had lived their whole lives in the city. Toronto's noise, its energy, it was all they knew. So when Claire's grandmother passed away, leaving her the old family home in a rural town called Greyhaven, they thought it might be a blessing, a fresh start. They arrived on a bright autumn afternoon. The leaves were turning gold, the air crisp with the smell of wood smoke. At first glance, the house was charming, tired but charming. But when Claire mentioned to neighbors that she and her husband were moving into Margaret Hale's house, their smiles faltered. Conversations ended quickly. People muttered excuses to leave. That was the first sign. The second came that night. At 2:17 a.m., Claire sat up in bed. She wasn't sure what had woken her. Then she heard it, faint scratching sounds, slow, deliberate, coming from inside the walls. She woke Mark. He listened, then shook his head. "Old house," he said. "The wood settles. Don't worry." But Claire couldn't shake the feeling. It wasn't the house settling. It was something alive. The next morning, Claire explored the attic. Dust floated in shafts of light, boxes stacked in corners, forgotten belongings. That's where she found it. A heavy trunk, carved with her grandmother's initials, MH. It was locked, and as she bent down, pressing her ear against it, she swore she heard something inside. A faint rustling, like pages turning. That afternoon, Claire asked an elderly shopkeeper in town about her grandmother. At first, the woman was kind. But when Claire pressed about the house, the old woman's eyes turned sharp. "Some places remember," she whispered. "And some people are remembered by them." She wouldn't say more. That night, Claire dreamed of water rushing, of voices calling her name from beneath the floorboards. When she woke, she found muddy footprints in the hallway. Small ones. A child's. But she and Mark had no children. Mark tried to reassure her. He worked from home, and during the day, nothing unusual happened. But at night, the house came alive. Footsteps padded across the upstairs hall. Doors creaked open. Once, Claire woke to find the bedroom door wide open, though they always locked it before bed. Finally, Claire hired a locksmith to open the trunk. Inside, she found her grandmother's diaries. Stacks of them, bound in worn leather. Alongside them were yellowed newspaper clippings, headlines about missing children. And tucked carefully between the pages was a silver locket, with a photograph of a young girl inside. Claire read the first diary entry aloud. "They keep asking about her. I told them she went away, but she's still here, closer than they know." The words chilled her to the bone. That night, Mark swore he saw someone standing in the tree line behind the house. A pale figure, watching. But when he ran outside, there was no one there. Inside the trunk, Claire found one last diary, its final entry smudged with water damage. "If anyone finds this, the truth is beneath the creek. Don't let it take you too." The next day, Claire convinced Mark to help her dig near the creek, that wound through their backyard. Hours passed with nothing but mud and roots, until finally the shovel struck something solid. They unearthed the child's shoe, rotted with age. It was identical to the one in the locket's photograph. As Claire held it in her trembling hands, the ground beneath them gave way. They tumbled into darkness. Beneath the creek bed was a hidden chamber, carved out long ago. The air was damp, heavy with rot. Their flashlights cut through the dark, revealing shelves of belongings. Dolls, toys, drawings. Each one belonged to a different child. And on the far wall, words carved deep into stone. "It feeds on what we forget." Then a sound, a laugh. "Hi, childish," echoing from the shadows. The creek water began to pour in, filling the chamber fast. Mark shouted, searching for a way out. Claire's light flickered, and in that split second, she saw him. the figure of a little girl, standing just behind Mark, smiling. Then the water surged. Claire was pulled upward by the current, coughing, clawing at the mud. She reached the surface, gasping, but Mark was gone. Rescue crews arrived hours later. They found Claire hysterical, covered in mud. But when they searched the creek bed, they found no chamber, no belongings, no carvings on the wall, only water and stone. The town whispered. Some said Claire had gone mad, just like her grandmother before her. Others said she was cursed by the house. She left Greyhaven months later, unable to bear the silence of the home that had taken her husband. But the story didn't end there. One morning, back in Toronto, Claire received a package on her doorstep. No return address. Inside was a silver locket and a freshly developed photograph. It showed Mark, standing in the underground chamber, his face pale but smiling. Some houses don't hold memories. They hold on to the people who should have left.